Hello, everybody. This is Bart Sharp, and you are on Becoming Quantum Conscious at United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 107.7 and 105.3, broadcasting out of the beautiful city of New Orleans, Louisiana, and also on Roku, the UPRM website, Facebook, X, and YouTube, and other internet platforms, which we're all grateful that they're out there, and we are all over the world. And I love it to be all around the world because I really try to bring people from all over the world here and hear different points of view. I think that's why I like doing the show the most is I never know what's going to be what I do know, but I'm always surprised what new information I get and such. And I think today's guest is going to be very much like that. So I'm going to turn my light down a little bit. I got a lot of glare there. Maybe that works. Oh, yes, I'm not so glary. Maybe I am. Got a little bit of glare on my head, my forebrow. But I'm going to bring on our guest today. Hi, everybody. This is Maher Ali. Um,
Uh,
how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Hi, everybody. How are you doing? Nice to be on the show and nice to meet you. Thank you very much, Bart, for inviting me.
Oh, my pleasure. I love Egypt. Always curious to learn more, as many people here do, and I just love your accent personally.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
You know,
So, and Egypt is really ready for all of you, for everybody, and welcoming all of you.
yes, and you live in London, but you also were raised in Egypt,
I'm
and
Egyptian. My parents are Egyptians, and I just moved to London a couple of decades ago. And yeah, I'm living between Egypt and London.
yeah, I guess Egypt just keeps calling you back. You're a major tour guide with M. Could you say your website name again? And
Yeah, my website is boundless, as there is no boundaries, boundlessholidays.com.
yeah, and it's more than just that. Sounds really like you're gonna go out and go surfing or something, sit by a pool or something. But no, you are not going to do that with this trip. It is going into the tombs and various sacred sites of Egypt, which is the really juicy stuff. Because,
E- exactly, exactly. So it is, you're totally right. So we're not those holidays by the pool or by the beach or sun tanning.
who
We
wants
are
to do
doing
that?
I don't know, but just some people like different things. But yeah, we will do many different things. But the most important and the main attraction is being there inside the Great Pyramid and also between the pose of the Sphinx. Then going into our retreat or our own visits into many different sites and trying to be there mostly on our own arranged private tours, private visits in different sites. And one of the most impressive sites that we can arrange private visits at is the greatest of the great temples of the goddess Isis on the island of Phila, where you can get wonderful feel, forget the wonderful feel, where you can
Hmm.
get the manifestation, where you can get united with Isis. And let me talk about Isis and the healing, the healing powers
Oh,
of Isis later, but I
ye-
can talk about other things as well.
that can't be passed by the way. We have to talk about ISIS. I got three questions for you already, but I know I'm interrupting you.
Okay, no, 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 go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
I'm
no,
really
no. Go
happy.
ahead. Go ahead. We'll go. We're not going to forget about the island of ISIS.
Yeah, and we just like we do the Karnak temple, visit Sekhmet, and we go to many other places, and of course the Osirian, or the Temple of Abydos or Abydos. This is where one of the most sacred sites, and this is where mystery is at its own peak, and
Mm.
also the temple itself and the healing power in there is phenomenal.
Well,
Plus, we have gathering and groups. Just there are loads of other things that we can cover and we can
so,
talk about it. But just go
so
ahead with your questions.
no, no, particularly that temple. Could you say the name of it again and tell us why is the healing? And when you say healing, what does that exactly mean? Because some people would say, well, it's a conscious, something in my consciousness changed and I'm forever changed. Therefore, I feel healed. And other people go, well, I had bronchitis all my life and I no longer have that. Uh, what exactly do you mean by healing?
So, well, healing, it's very hard to say what exactly is healing because it's a personal. Every individual feels his own healing, feels his own power, his own way, or her own way. So their own perspective of healing is differ from one to the other. That's very important because of every one of us feels in a different way. Some people
Yeah.
feel just like enlightened there. Some people feel, oh,
Hmm.
happiness. I'm just happy. Some people feel that they just like they needed refuge, and that is where their own refuge as well. Some, that will take us to talk about the uh, lots of different perspectives and concepts of ancient Egypt in general.
Yes.
One of them is what happens between the Ba, the Ka, and the Ah. And that is a very important concept. It may sound as soul and spirit and ether, or the light. The Ka, as in the ancient Egyptian theology or ancient Egyptian belief, the Ka, we've got the Ka, there are many different types of Kas. The Ka is the, let's say, the spirit. So we have many of them. We have as much as 14 of them, like the 14 phases of the moon. We've got some of them can control goodness in us and badness in us. Um, and I can come over in another podcast and talk about just the different types of cars. But
Hmm.
when the physical body passes, then the car will be there. The car will split from the physical body and go behind what we call it the false door, or the door, the hidden door of the grave or the tomb. And that will allow what we call it the Ba, B-A. The Ba is the soul, and the Ba is there. And depending on how the Ba and the Ka are connected and how the cars, how bad the evils have been controlling the car, the bar keeps going up and down between heaven and, let's say, heaven and earth in a way, between the divine world and the material world that we're in. It keeps going up and down in a very exhausting journey till it clarifies and cleanses all the evilness, and then it changes into what we call it the Ah. And Ah is the ether, Ah is the light, Ah is, I'll try to simplify it in a different way. If our body is there, how heavy the metals are, how heavy. When we say heavy, when we need to detoxicate ourselves, we get rid of the heaviness and the heavy metal in our body, in our soul, in our food. And That's the same concept that ancient Egyptians have known a long time ago when they wanted to describe the ultimate spirit, when they wanted to describe the uh, the ether, when they wanted to describe the unity with the divines, when the person gets into the eternity and unity with the Lord or with the light, that is when it gets to the Akh. So there is no shadow, there is no heaviness, there is nothing there. You feel the presence, but you don't see the presence. That
Mm.
is the beginning of understanding what and why we do these in Egypt.
So that is so wonderfully explained. Thank you so much. Just two questions with that. This is the between the ka, the ba, and the ah. This is an experience that we're transmuting through our lifetimes, but also you're saying when you go into these temples, you have an opportunity to transforming those even more. Is that what I'm getting?
Exactly. Exactly. You try to find, or the we try to find who we are, and we try to drop off the heaviness, which is the evil side of us, and try to get into the light, or into the ultimate, the eternity, into the spirit itself, without all of those sins or the negativities.
Wonderful. I love this explanation because it's when I read this in books, it's not always that clear. And it just brings up this question as I was reading the other day of like when the gods were present and active and interactive with the temples when they left. It was like this, a lot of the spirit wasn't there, but the temples themselves seemed to hold the spirit of the gods themselves. Am I kind of getting something of that correct?
Uh, in a way, I would say yes, but the spirits did not disappear
Hmm.
because when they get cleansed, let's say that the car gets cleansed, it moves from the heavy level or the physical level up to our ka'us. And when you look at the Egyptian tombs and temples, you see the most famous, the most fantastic ceiling of these places, of these tombs and temples, which is the stars. What these stars are representing. The stars are what we can call them the Ka'u or the Kas, which is our spirits or the spirits of the ancestors, which have been there with us, and that's what guides us all the time. They are our guides, they are our protectors, they are our teachers, they are our um, inspiration in a way.
Yeah, they do guide us, and as many as the audience know, I do tours in Southwest France, and just relating my experience to your experience to compare. Like for example, I go to a church where Mother Mary appeared, and still today, when you go in and there's a mass happening, you always feel the presence of Mother Mary there. It's a particular signature, and those who are adept enough to perceive at that level are blessed with her presence. Is something similar going on in some of the temples? Do you feel uh, Isis's presence in some of the temples?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. And and it happens in many different ways. And let's talk about who is ISIS. ISIS is not just ISIS as a name. ISIS, she is Isis's name is Isit because of people get confused about ISIS as there was some kind of a group that nobody likes to mention, but ISIS is Isit, IST. But the
Isit.
Greeks mispronounced the word and it became Isis. But Isit means the throne, and Isit is the lady that supports. Isit is the lady of healing. Isit is the lady that protects. Isit is the one that would guide you to the throne, and guiding to the throne and supporting to the throne is not the physical throne that we know, because of she supported, according to ancient theology, she supported her son Horus. And we can talk about Horus on his own, and we can talk about Osiris or Osir on his own in a different podcast, because of there are lots of different things. Simply, Horus
Lovely.
is the ultimate power. Osir is the eternity. So
Mm.
that is the oldest concept of Trinity that we can ever think of. But Isit is the one that, just like keeps the balance of the heavenly balance. Isit is the one that protects the holy shrine. Isit, one of the names of Isit was Wirit Hekau, which is the great support of magic. So she was the great supporter of magic and magician. Isit had been remanifested in many different divines like Mut and Nut and also Hathor. So when we talk about Isit or Isis, as everybody would know the name Isis, so she's in many different parts and in many different places, and she's the one that had been worshipped widely all the way around the world. And there are many different shrines in the Roman times have been dedicated for Isis, even in Ephesus. And they think that the goddess Nike in Ephesus might have been Isis herself. So there are an Isis and Venus, an Isis and Aphrodite or Aphrodite. Even some people started or tried to find resemblance between Isis and Virgin Mary as being able to have a baby without a
Well,
father. So
there's there's
Isis is
there's there's
lots. Sorry to interrupt you.
there's no, there's a lot of shrines that are very old, very small churches throughout southwest France that, a lot of the more daring historians say they used to be a tomb of Isit. And then they replaced her with Mother Mary, and at Isit, or they call her Ici in French, but Isit is everywhere throughout France. In fact, Paris used to be called Parisis, Parisis, as their shrines to Isis or Ici there. So to me, she's always the big goddess. And there's a lot of, and maybe I need to bring, just ask, what do you think of the concept that Ici was kind of like the goddess, the bringer of the universe into this planet, this plane? Uh, you might say that she's a incarnation of Sophia or the goddess of the universe, but she embodied the stars, the universe. Uh, how do you feel about that idea?
Just like we can talk about it forever and beyond, but it is lots. But just like the short answer, I would talk about
Yeah.
the Aeneid of Heliopolis, one of the in the Egyptian theology. We've got the creation of human being, or the creation of the beings in general, had been there are many different ways. One of them, or one of many different ideas, it depends on the period and it depends on which temple it came from. One of them was the Ennead of Heliopolis, which is Atum, the creator, and Atum and Ra and Horus are more or less different manifestations of the same being. Created himself, and then he created Shu and Tefnut. Shu is the air, and Tefnut is the moisture. Shu and Tefnut got married, and they have given birth of Gib, the god of the earth, and Nut, the goddess of the sky. And then the first human on earth have been Isis, which is Aset, Osiris, Seth, and Nephthys. And out of Isis and Osiris, we have Horus, which is the divine that we can feel and see up in the sky. So that's where Isis, thank you very much. That's where Isis comes from, and that is what the importance of Isis. So there's no wonder Isis is everywhere, because of if even if we look at the biblical part of our history, we can talk about Isis as the first human on earth.
Whoa. I love that. And so when you're going into these temples, you're getting that type of impression, and almost like an energetic download that changes your ka, your ba, and your ah as you go into these. Am I understanding that?
That's exactly right. So you go, when you go to these holy sites or the temples, you try to tame your own ka, or the negative in your own ka, and get the ba into resting a little bit, and that changes it into the ah, and ah will be the ether, or the feel, or the being, or the light.
How do you suggest somebody prepare for a journey like this? That they're going to these important places and they want to have this transformation. What do you suggest that they do to prepare? Or how do you prepare them?
How do we prepare them? We send them some different material to start reading through, to start knowing what they are looking at, and they start looking at things from a new perspective. And then in some of the sites, when we go to some of these sites, we, as part of the pilgrimage or part of the healing, we have to be fasting, we have to purify, we have to cleanse ourselves internally and externally. We cleanse the body and the inner part of our soul and body by many different things, between the essential oils to fasting or refraining food, or purification as cleansing the body before we go to these holy sites, and the preparation. And when it comes to either manifestation or circles inside of these different holy sites, that will elevate and create the understanding as well.
That sounds wonderful. I'm glad that you do so much preparation, because we really do have to have as clean and focused body as possible with this, to move into this. So everybody, you are listening to Maher Haggag. I know I probably messed that up totally. Could you say your name so I get it right?
Maher Haggag, or Maher Ali.
Maher Ali. And we are on the topic of the healing properties of the Egyptian temple. And this is Becoming Quantum Conscious. My name is Bart Sharp. and you're on the United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 107.7 and 105.3 out of New Orleans, Louisiana. Also heard on the UPR website, Roku, YouTube, X, and Facebook and other internet platforms. So you were telling me earlier about this island that I have never heard of, the island of Isis, which just
Island,
sounds too intriguing.
the island of Isis, which is the temple of Isis next to the island of Bega. That's where no matter which part of the day you go to, and we try to plan our own visits in there in the very early hour in the morning without any interference of any others. So if people want to meditate, they can meditate peacefully. So that island, no matter which part of the day you go to, it is such a powerful place. Midday, morning, noon, late at night. Even they do some shows in there at night, which is, we call it Sound the Light Show. It's still very powerful and energetic place.
Any idea of what? I know. Yes, the temples are there, but as you describe it, your whole vibration starts to change, almost as if the whole island is vibrating and resonating as a whole to make that happen. Am I getting close to what you perceive?
Some people think, yes, exactly right, and some people think, or some of the readings consider Isis temple as the crown chakra. Some
Mm.
others consider it as the root chakra.
Hmm. It's really interesting because I always get ISIS as very much, connecting and bringing us in through the root, but somehow the stars are connecting to that. And I always saw it as the universe coming through the earth and making this super grounding effect. But as you perceive it, or if you talk about it, it's almost like both ends are getting uh, uh, input at the same time, which is really intriguing. Almost like she is the whole.
She is the whole. She is the whole, especially when she gets united with Sekhmet. And Sekhmet is a much bigger topic. But when she gets united with Sekhmet, she becomes the absolute power and the protective power as well.
Wow.
And talking about Sekhmet and Isis and also Bastet, according to one of the best examples I've learned about how the priests in ancient Egypt have been controlling and taming the anger of Sekhmet, and Sekhmet have been depicted in most of the images, statues, and pictures as if she's the lioness. How to tame Sekhmet's anger by cleansing yourself internally and externally, and to tame and control Sekhmet to become either Bastet or a merciful goddess that would become a protective, because if she can destroy, she's got a massive and absolute power. She can destroy and she can heal and protect. And both of these are between Sekhmet and Isis, but of course, Sekhmet is a different topic, and we've got the greatest uh, shrine of Sekhmet in the Temple of Karnak, which is
Mm.
150 miles away from Isis temple. And I'm talking about between Aswan, that's where Isis temple is, and Luxor, and that is where the shrine of Sekhmet is.
Wow. I want to go back a little bit and ask hopefully question. When you start to talk about segment taking control, almost like the lion coming in, would just be in a practical term be expressed with somebody's anger getting out of control and becoming brutal or abusive. Uh, we create our own stories, but yet it is influenced by the spirits that move through us, and of course, our Ka experiences. Uh, is that a good comparison?
Eh, I would say to a very good extent, yes. That's a good comparison.
Yes. Sometimes when we work with spirit and with gods and goddesses, it is a very practical term, and I just bring that out to people because I think they kind of get lost in saying, well, I'm going to bring in Mary Magdalene or Isis or such, and I think it's kind of, yeah, I have to keep a little practical too. Like, I need to deal with my anger issues or my shame issues as well. They kind of work together. And however, when you go into these temples, if you have done your work with shame and anger and it's not such a heavy vibration, it just sounds like in all the other work and preparations you do, it sounds like it's a phenomenal experience.
It is. It is a phenomenal experience, and we try with our products and our company. So we're talking about the company now, and sorry if I just
No,
mentioning
no,
that
no, no.
we
And
we
what's the name of the company again?
boundless, as there's no boundaries, boundless holidays.
And tell everybody the website name so we all get that.
It's www.boundlessholidays.com.
Okay.
So the what we do when we are cruising up and down or up or down the Nile, we have night or evening circles, and that is where whoever comes with the retreat or whoever leads the healing part or the spiritual part, we get the circle, we get people together, we get everyone together, and that starts the bond, because of the bond is more important, and everybody has got to start elevating and catching up with the other, uh, to be to reach up to the point of where everyone wants to be, because of each and every one of us have got different path, different intention, different purpose of the journey, either the journey, the physical journey, or the spiritual journey that we go through. So when we are very close to the water, we have our own circles, and we get prepared, we get started, we get into the uh, spiritual part of our retreat. And this is so important. And we have the team on the ground when people go to the holy sites. We stop others and other vibes and other levels of energy to intervene and interfere with what's going on. There are lots of other ways, but just that's how it is. So to get the optimum experience is what we can do it.
That sounds wonderful because I would think that almost like the group magnifies every individual experience. So if everybody is in more of a communion together, uh, you just magnify everything.
That's exactly that's what we try to do. All
And
what we have is to try.
well, it's always an interesting synchronicity being a tour guide and leading people and seeing what everybody contributes uh, with that or resist with on other hands because people come with their fears uh, and they come with their hopes, they come with their love, they come with their agenda sometimes, and their dietary problems usually. There's so many things to deal with.
And besides that, I'm not just a tour guide, I'm an Egyptologist as well. So that's the other part of me. It's not the tour guidance only. It
Yeah.
is beyond that.
So as an Egyptologist, um, how just to ask a question nobody's ever been able to give me an answer to. How old do you think Egypt is in this culture that it's been creating for thousands of years? Any
Okay.
ideas?
Just like everybody, when it comes to Egypt, everybody talks about the pyramids, just like the Ballet of Narmer. Egypt and the human civilization are a lot older than we all think.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in what we call it pre-civilizations history, and um, the if we think of the just like I'll take you to Europe, the Neanderthal, we're talking about the oldest skeleton that have been found in Great Britain or Norway is dated back to 330,000 years ago. And I've seen some skulls in the country of Georgia. It's the one on the east, close to
Hmm.
the stands in Armenia, in the museum in Tbilisi. It's according to that date, it's 770,000 years old. I
Oh
can
my
send you
God.
that. I can send you that picture.
I've never heard that information. I've heard 300,000 plus, but not
I
700.
I can send you that information. And then in Egypt, in one of the museums, we've got the skeleton of a young man, and according to carbon dating, it's 35,000 BC. And recently they found some skeleton of a young lady that is estimated to be 72,000 BC. So
Mm.
civilization had been there a lot longer, but uh, of the 1800s and 1700s when they started, or sorry, it's 1800 and 1900s, when they started writing history, and they didn't want to get out of the taboo of the beginning of civilization. No, it's way older than that. And if I can take you to central parts of Europe in a country known as Serbia, there is a site there called Lipniski Vir. I worked in there and I know it and I've been there many times. Lipniski Vir, they found many skeletons and it was just a whole village, and they were buried in more or less the same style of the ancient Egyptians, and that's
Wow.
dated back to 15,000 BC.
Wow.
That's some people don't know that, but that's dated back to 15,000 BC.
Wow. Yeah. That's wonderful. It's so much of this is so confirming with that. It's just amazing how so much of this is kind of hidden, almost like the pyramids in Bosnia that have been recently, I guess, 20 years ago. They finally started addressing those, and they're huge pyramids, but some people say their pyramids are all over the world. Uh,
There,
and any
I believe there are pyramids all over the world.
Yeah, any theories on how they were built or who built them?
Uh, how they were built or how or who built them, I'll just like I wish I can give you the answer to that. But I would say there are a lot more technologies have been used than what we know.
Yeah.
And it might have been either land bridge, it might have been freedom of movement somehow, it might have been a technology that we've lost, or it might have been simple technology because there were many experiences like the expedition of Ra and the Kontiki of traveling through the oceans or across the oceans by simple uh, floating rafts or boats, and that experience have been done in 1960s and 70s, and it had
Yes.
proved that people can easily travel even across the oceans in primitive way. And there are some connectivities, and there's a big question: where is the source of silver all over the world? Source of silver is mostly in Argentina, and how come that the silver have traveled all over the world? There is one of the other things that I'm really fascinated with, which is the daisy flower. And if you look at any other civilization, I'm not just interested in Egyptian civilization because I lead tours in many countries,
Hmm.
in just like more than 50 countries.
Wow.
And I'm always fascinated with the uh, old civilizations like Mesopotamians, Chinese, Indian, Egyptian, Cypriot, Phoenicians, Greek, Romans, everyone, and the Celtics as well, and the Pict civilization. All of them are sharing the the many different concepts, many different theological parts, but one of the most important is the jewelry and the daisy flower that have been we had shared all of them. It cannot be the same flower. There must have been something and some connectivity that we've had, and not everybody, we didn't find the technology yet to get to know how things have been done.
Yeah.
Plus the if we talk about um, northwest of Europe, I can talk about the Orkney Island, that's in Scotland.
Oh, yes.
There is a site called Skara Brae, and Skara Brae is older than the pyramids. It's one whole millennia older than the pyramids of Giza. Or
Wow.
even they started finding out that it's more than that. It could be two millennia older than the pyramids of Giza, and it had been built exactly the same way. And we're talking about Scotland. We're not talking about just like Greece or Cyprus or Mesopotamia. We're talking about a very far away country with lots of um, just like a massive distance between Egypt um, and Lipneski Vir, or just like the site of sorry, not Lipneski Vir. I'm sorry, I apologize. Of Skara Brae in the on the Isle of Orkney in Scotland. So that is. I can also share some of the pictures if you want to share that. I can post them to you, and that is
Okay.
such a
Yeah.
very interesting um, site as well to study.
Oh, I imagine so. And it really gives proof to, yes, they were sailing all around and sharing all kinds of exchanges with that. Um, that's wonderful. Um, so when we talk about the healing uh, properties of the tours or the sacred sites, but when you complete a tour, what would you like people to walk away with? What is your objective?
That's a very, very, very great question. What is the objective? The objective is to get the optimum experience, no matter what it is. And the optimum experience is individual. So my own target is personalization of the experience, no matter what it is, and getting each and every individual to reach their own optimum experience of the place, either physical or spiritual, or happiness, or dropping off negative, or dropping off anger.
Mm, that's a wonderful way to approach it, and I'm sure that happens all the time with people that they walk out different people.
exactly.
And just another kind of a personal question. What got you interested in this in the first place?
Since I
Because
was
because it sounds
so
like you just have a vast knowledge that you is a lifetime and maybe several lifetimes of experiences all rolled up into one.
it's since I was 10 years old, I have been so fascinated with um, Egyptian history or ancient Egyptian history. My mother's house was half a mile away from the very major temple of the ancient Egyptian cat, the goddess
Mm,
Bastet. That's where I grew up, and that's a big site for all of us to know and to learn. Then I've been fascinated with it ever since, reading, learning, trying to teach myself. Um, and when I moved to the UK and I started leading tours in many different parts of the world, that widened my knowledge very, very massively. And I started looking at things in different perspective and comparing things and find more similarities between civilizations than um, dissimilarities. So we're
mm,
mostly similar. We're mostly using the same technologies. We're mostly all, and I'm talking about the whole world, the whole ancient civilizations. There was more communications and more connectivity than we can ever imagine. It wasn't the most primitive thing. There are lots and lots of other things that we can jump in, we can cover from utilization of the stones, from meteorites, from studying the stars, from studying the constellations, from having names to them, from finding this, from the concept of good and evil and the struggle between the good and evil. No matter which civilization you're focusing on, it's still the same struggle between good and evil. It's the impact and the similarity is so massive, much bigger than anyone can ever imagine.
wow, that's a wonderful comparison with all of that. And it's I do energy work with these because Francis, where I has been my teacher as well as America, and where I'm at in Austin, Texas, which is a very progressive town of new ideas and uh, just it's almost like present tense type of consciousness as opposed to the ancient. But it seems like my brain is evolving or things in my mind are opening that I had no imagination were possible 10 years ago. But going into the ancient sites and going into these highly energetic places seems to open those things up. Almost like they've been there all along, they're just dormant. Um, do you find some of that with you? I mean, it sounds like you've had a few lifetimes doing this type of work, and you're connected with something much more than just this lifetime.
It could be. It could be. Yes, I totally agree. Sometimes when we go to ancient places, you find some of the places are more powerful than others, and you're longing to get back. You cannot wait to get back to the very same spots because of there are some specific energy or power or history or mystery behind the walls and behind the rocks of these places. I'll give
Or
you an example of the Roslin Chapel
yes,
in Edinburgh, in Scotland. That's out of question. There are lots of other sites. Just like in Greece, there are loads more than we can ever imagine. In Egypt, we having the sites of not just the pyramids, not just the Sphinx. We having the mystery of the Serapeum in Saqqara, in the site of Saqqara, the oldest necropolis known on Earth. in a very good shape. And the mystery of the movement of the hundreds of tons of sarcophagi or sarcophagus into tunnels. And you need technology to do that. You need some kind of, uh, it's not just the human motivation, there are a lot more than that to move all of these different bodies in the narrow tunnels, in the narrow places. You have to open up to many different questions, and being open to suggestions and ideas, and not to stick to the taboos, and not to go from one thing to the other. Even I'm just like I'm jumping into a different thing right now, but I'm affiliated with some groups in the United States, um, which is Ancient Artifacts Preservation Society. And they are more into the copper trade and more into the different sites and different elements that have been found in the United States, affiliated with Egypt and the ancient civilizations. And one of them is even they found some stones that still under studying up till now. People still studying it up till now, and these stones are from, they're in hundreds, and I'm not talking about one piece or two. They are in hundreds, and these stones have got different civilizations, different writings from Egyptian to Greek to Akkadian to some language, which I think, because I've seen these stones, I think it could be either um, uh, oh my God, Norwegian or
Wow.
Viking civilization. So when it's found in Midwest of the United States and in a cave, and all of them together, and people are still trying to find out where is it coming from, and what gathers all of these different information together, what gather all of these different stones, and some of them are as tiny as 4 inches, and some of them are as big as 10 to 15 inches wide.
Wow.
Uh, and they've got different symbols, different shapes of boats, different designs, ancient Egyptian pieces. There are lots of ancient Egyptian carving on them, separate carving on them, many different things, where it's coming from. These are the questions that makes you eager to learn more and to dig into more knowledge.
Wow. That's so amazing. This is a good place to kind of come to an end with the show. Uh, you are listening to Maher Ali Haggag, and you can find out more about Maher at www.boundlessholidays.com. And I just wanted to give a thank you to Tina Kenny Clark, who was going to be on the show as well, but could not make it tonight. And you can find her at, I believe, tinakennyclark.com, and she works with you on tours, and she does other work, and she's an amazing energy worker, healer, expert, and sacred sites as well. So we want to thank Tina Kenny Clark, and she will be coming onto the show sometime in the future. And she's been on the show, so thank you, Tina. But wow, what a great thought! And we'll have time for one more question. And I just want you to think of this, Mayer, while I give closing uh, thoughts. What message would you like to give people to the world, in about a 1 to 2 minute soundbite? And while you think of that, I want to tell everybody that you are listening to The Healing Properties of the Egyptian Temple by Maher Ali Haggag. And I know I'm messing up that word horribly, your name. Please excuse me. My name is Bart Sharp, and you're on Becoming Quantum Conscious at United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 107.7 and 105.3 out of New Orleans, Louisiana. Ma'am, what wisdom can you impart everybody as ending words?
In just like in few words, sorry to jump into that, but just Tina will share her own. Tina, she's a great being. She's a wonderful sister of mine. She will share her own personal experience of healing in the Egyptian temples when she talks, and I'll leave that for her, so she will talk about her own personal experience. So my message to your wonderful listeners and viewers, I would say we're all just one, but we don't think so. We're all united no matter where you're coming from, your color, your shape, your part of the world, your ethnicity. We're all one. We're all more united, and we have more shared in common that we can ever think. And if we look at it this way, there will be more peace and light to the whole world.
That's wonderful thoughts. Thank you for so much for being on the show, and we hope to see everybody next week when we have Carl French, creator of a wonderful band called Brave Combo, talking about creativity and becoming a master creator as this man, Carl French, is. So until next week, we wish everybody the best and bye bye.